Hey, everybody, welcome back. My name is Deborah Peters, and this is the Deborah Peters Show. Welcome to 2023, the new year of your next life. And as we get this year rolling, I want to share with you something very profound, and that is whatever it is you desire to have happen this year, you already have it within you. And it's just a matter of getting the clutter out, the doubts, the fears, the lacks, the limitations, the negative self-talk, and allowing yourself to experience the things that you ask for. You are the only one stopping you, and you are your greatest chance and your only chance at success, because it's not about anybody else. It's about your alignment with you. And that is what this show is all about. It's about consciousness, the self-awareness, the conscious awareness of your greatness, of your power, of your gifts, of everything that you have planted within your heart that you desire to create with your life. You know, you only get one kick at the can, so at least in this body. So best have yourself dialed into what you desire instead of what you fear. So we cover a variety of topics within 5 pillars: health, wealth, relationships, business, and self-expression. And I just have a chorus of birds outside my window right now cheering me on. And my next guest, which is Jackie Lewis, he's an amazing author. He's written a few books. He's an expert on marriage and fatherhood. Jackie, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me, Deborah. I appreciate it.
Yeah, my pleasure. And, you know, when we did the pre-interview a while ago and we were talking about manhood, I thought, you know, how great to have a dad, a man on the show that, you know, is living, like walking the walk and actually living the truth of your message. And so what inspired you to get on this path and teach these tools?
So for me, I've come to understand that there's a negative stigmatism, or at least in the Black community, it's not celebrated the way that it should.
What's not celebrated the way that it should?
Fatherhood and marriage. I mean, if you look at pop culture, it's more about what you can gain from somebody financially rather than trying to build a actual relationship with them.
Yeah.
So
well, that's not just the Black community, by the way.
Oh, okay.
That's like everywhere.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to speak on, I only want to speak on the community that I'm a part of, you know?
So I'm bringing that other perspective.
So for me, I want it to be that change, you know? I want to become the change I want to see in the world. So
yes.
If I can empower somebody with the little bit of knowledge that I've amassed over the past 34 years, and I can stop someone from making the same stupid mistakes that I made, then I think the world can be a better place.
Right. And you said a lot there. I just want to have you reframe. I don't think, first of all, that any of the mistakes that you made were stupid. You just don't know what you don't know. And mistakes are just a missed take, where there's always an opportunity for another shot, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you adjust and recalibrate, and then the next result you get, you look at that and go, okay, is this really what I was aiming for? Not quite. Let me become a better me.
Mm-hmm.
That's essentially what you're saying.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
My mentor, he tells me, you know, it's like track. You run your own race.
Right.
My only goal is to be 1% better each day. And that's the only thing. I'm only in competition with myself. I only want to better myself.
So that's awesome, because I think, you know, what a great attitude to go into a whole new year with. It's like, today I'm going to be a 1% better, a better me.
Yeah.
And that's where everything stops and starts, right? Is who you're being with yourself.
Mm-hmm. It gets a little complicated because I think that the way society and specifically social media has been built is a lot of people, they don't know who their genuine self is.
I
So
agree.
how can you better something when you are not in relationship with who you really are?
Right. This is something I tell clients all the time, and sometimes I don't know if it really sinks in, but it's a good way to really start your day is to get up in the morning, and before you engage with the phone, or yeah, the world through your phone or turn on your computer, it's like dial into you
Hmm.
and take, whether it's prayer, meditation, writing something like your intention for the day, speaking it out loud. I do all of the above. Like I have a morning routine that includes all of that. And some days I don't get through it all because it takes me about an hour. And some
Okay.
people would frown at like who has an hour. And I just think now that I do that practice and have been doing it for years, I look back at the way the circumstances of my life were before I started that practice, and I've done a 180. It's completely changed, and my life has evolved for the better because instead of connecting with the world and identifying with something out there, whether it's an Instagram photo, whether it's looking at TikTok videos, or even if it's business email, I identify with me and what I'm looking to create instead of identifying with the world and what the problems are and what the lack is, and how things are going sideways in the world and the economy is tanking, whatever the negativity is of the day, the flavor of the day. Instead of identifying with that, I'm identifying with what it is that I'm looking to create. And while we wait for Jackie to get his connection back, let me just expand on that because this is something that I've been really developing for the future seminars that I've revamped. And that is when we get into alignment with what it is that we're creating, there's going to be pushback from our senses. And because our senses are dialed into now. So everything we see, everything we hear, everything we self-talk, smell, taste, touch, intuit, all of that is dialed into the current reality, whatever that current reality is. So, if you've got layoffs in your area, maybe you've got severe weather storms and people are in trouble. Maybe you've got industries that are collapsing. That's the negative stuff, obviously. But, that can really pull you in, rising interest rates, all kinds of challenges from an economic perspective can really suck you into believing that this is all there is. And Jackie, I know you lost connection, but I think this is what you were saying about the Black community being challenged by maybe limiting beliefs or lack of exposure to other possibilities. And I want to talk about that for a minute, but before I do, I want to finish this point about how it really has to do with the relationship you have with yourself and how you cultivate that first, no matter what.
I agree. It's really a simple phrase that I learned a long time ago, and you can't help anybody until you are able and willing to help yourself. I can't reach outside. I can't pour from an empty cup. So I have to
Yes.
be willing to build myself, build my character, build my wealth, and build my value before I can pour value back into the community.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And it's like this. There's this old saying, like, you can't be sick enough to help people get well. You can't be
Mhm.
poor enough to help people get wealthy. You can't be depressed enough to help people get healthy. are happy. And I think that this is there's some kind of societal program that has us under this fog that not to rise too high. Do you know what I'm saying?
It is. In my opinion, I find myself to be a bit of a rebel in this aspect. But if you look at the way that society has been built, it's been built to create more or less followers rather than leaders.
Soldiers rather
Yeah.
than generals. Yeah.
Yeah. So they say that school teaches you what to think and not how to think. And I think
Yes.
that's why we don't know who we are, because we've been told, and we've been told
Yes.
and taught to recite everything instead of saying, hey, what do you think about this? They tell us this is what you are. And I think that's our major downfall.
I agree with you. And so I'm going to go out on a limb here and I'm going to say something.
Okay.
And because this is just something that I think of a lot. And, I have a lot of friends from all over the world because I've worked all over the world. So my friendship base kind of looks like the United Nations, like every color of
Yeah.
skin, every language, it's just very diverse. And when I connect with people, I don't see that they're not like me. I see what diversity they can and flavor and expansiveness they can bring to my life because they're not like me.
Yeah.
Because they've had different experiences and they've grown up in different cultures and they've been exposed to different music and food and ideas. And to me, that's the blessing of the friendship, right?
It is. One of the best things that you can do for yourself is have a diverse friend group. Because if everybody thinks the same way that you do, what can you learn? What are you
Yeah.
benefiting from that friend group? Nothing, because you're just having your ideas repeated back to you. So it's like you're just regurgitating everything. You don't get anything new out of it.
Right. And you're never challenged to think differently.
Right.
So it's like that old saying, never be the smartest person in the room.
Yes.
Always be around people. And I love that. I love being around people that have accomplished more than me because then I can go, what were you focused on when you created that? Like,
Hmm.
I don't need to know, like, to your point, what you thought. I need to know how you related to the possibility.
Yeah. Like, uh,
Right?
what a lot of people don't realize is that the destination isn't the goal. The goal is to have a good journey. So that way, when you get to the destination, you can maintain it.
Because that's what builds you.
Yeah.
So, are you getting a little bit of feedback and echo?
I am not on my end.
Okay, then it might be just my headset. Um, let's get down to the manhood business.
Okay.
So, do you, I feel like there's been an attack on masculinity, and I don't like that.
Mhm.
Um, I I enjoy being around masculinity, like men that are take charge and they know themselves and they know their ideas and thoughts. And I'm fine with their, even if they're a little stuck in their thinking and hold on to an opinion a little bit just for the banter of the intellectual debate.
Yeah.
But what's happening with against and like what's happening with men these days? You're a guy. What's going on?
So I'm gonna say something that a lot of people may not agree with,
Okay.
but there has become the single mother has become a trend. So
Yes.
now we've made it so that fathers don't have, like, I've been to family court. I've been through all of it. Like, to the point where she has committed, and she on paper is a documented child abuser, not of our child, but I took her to court to get full custody, and the courts refused to give me full custody.
Oh my God.
Yeah, like legally, technically, I talked to my lawyer. I was like, how's she not in jail? He's like, I don't know. So it's the system is set to benefit the single mother, yes.
Yeah.
But because if they give me my child, the child support stops. The courts get a kickback.
Oh,
So
are you
it's like
serious?
it's a circulation of things. But single mothers have been raising these new generation of men. So now we have a generation of men that
Ouch.
with no masculine influence in their lives. So they don't know how to regulate the emotions that the mother 9 times out of 10 has let run wild.
And
I
if
think
I can jump in and ask a question, so is regulating emotions for boys, does that come through in physical activity?
I think sometimes they do, because even when I get frustrated, the first thing I want to do is go to the gym. I
Yeah,
want to lift something heavy. That's my stress reliever. So sometimes it should never come in the form of domestic violence,
sure.
but you have to know the healthy outlets. Like you can go running, jumping jacks, something, you know. But sometimes it controlling those emotions does come in the form of being able to dispel it in a physical manner. So we have a generation of men that don't know how to regulate their emotions because they don't have a masculine image in their lives.
Right,
And then, so now we have a men who who cannot think from a logical place, but they can only think from a emotional place because
right.
that's all they were taught and that's all they were seeing. And we're asking these men to step up and be fathers that they never had.
Yeah, because they've had no role model.
Right. So how can I become something and model something that I myself have never had?
Well, and also for girl children, how will they know who to select as a life partner if they've
Right.
never had a healthy relationship with a man as a father?
They can't. And I think one of the biggest things that we have in our society is we have a bunch of insecure people
And
with daddy,
narcissistic.
and yeah, and narcissistic, but they have these mommy and daddy issues. So now I don't want to go to work. I just want you to take care of me. I think I'm worth it because
Right.
I'm a woman.
Well, let me say this to that. So, I've coached male CEOs of mid-sized companies for about 20 years.
Okay.
And I can tell you that probably 9 out of 10 of them were under-nurtured as boys.
Hmm.
And many of them had fathers, many of them didn't. But they were under-nurtured. The father was checked out in some fashion. So this is like it's a twofold problem. One, the absent father, and I was a single mother, and I raised my daughter myself. And anybody that thinks that that's easy or glamorous or heroic, like it's not. It tears you apart, and it's exhausting, and it's financially impossible to do it all and keep it all together 24/7 when you are the only resource
It's
mentally,
hard to do
emotionally,
that.
financially, physically, time wise.
Yeah, it's hard to do that with two people in the house.
Yeah.
Like, imagine putting that burden on one single person and they have to carry that 24/7 on top of their own personal burdens. Like, I think so many times, like single mothers, they do. I imagine I've learned to say that everybody is doing the best that they can with what
Sure.
they have. And I want to give everybody that grace. But it's hard to say, hey, you're going to be a parent 24/7. You're going to be the sole financial provider, and you still have to juggle life and growth, and you try to have to get to where you want to go in life. That's a hard place to be in.
Yeah. It's the odds are completely stacked against you.
Yes.
And if it turns out decent, You did phenomenal.
Yeah.
So on the manhood side of things, so we have a lack of male role models. I think there's more going on in society, though, attacking masculinity than that. What do you think?
It is because I have a nonprofit mentoring program specifically designed for young men.
Nice.
I pitched it to the foster care organization that I was raised in, and they said we cannot use your program because it was like 90% of the boys that we have in our organization, they no longer identify as boys.
Oh my God, I was going to ask you, that was going to be a question I had for you today. So
Yeah.
I'm glad you addressed it.
So it's hard because and I'm not saying that what they are feeling is wrong. It's just a hard place to be in where we feel as a society that men have little to no value.
I agree with you. I do.
So it's like, why would I want to be a man? Nobody values me. I saw this quote. It was like, only women and children are valued unconditionally. Only a man is valued by what he can bring to the table. And it's like, it's true because my value as a man, according to society, is how well I can pay bills, how bad I can fix
How
things,
much money? Mm-hmm.
and how I have to be willing to put my life on the line if my family is under attack.
Right.
Like those are my values. Outside of that, nobody cares about my mental health. Nobody cares about my day-to-day struggles, and that's a hard place to be. So it's like, even though there is a benefit to being a man, as a young boy growing up, you will not be able to see that unless you have that influence in your life.
Yes. And so I'm going to go back up for a second.
Yeah.
Boys not identifying as boys. I have a real hard time with this identity stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That is, I feel it's predatory. I'm just going to say it out loud. Like whoever's watching, that's my opinion. I think it's predatory. The brain doesn't even stop growing until we're 25.
Yeah.
We don't hormonally mature. If your brain is still growing till you're 25, we haven't matured hormonally. And how can you attack the hormones in a child until they've had enough maturity and life experience to even have a reference point as to what they want to identify themselves as? I think it's brainwashing, and I think it's mind control, and I think it's predatory.
So for me, I look at it this way. You can identify as whatever you want to identify as.
Okay.
But I don't feel as if I should be forced into
a life-changing process.
Well, me as an individual, I shouldn't be forced into being a participant in whatever your personal beliefs are. And it goes the same way with religion. If you're not Christian, I'm not going to force you to identify as Christian.
Right.
So that's the way that I look at it. But like you said, I also understand that, and I believe that you should have a certain amount of life experience. I don't believe at the age of 3 and 5 you should be able to make a decision as an individual. You want to identify as a girl when you
have
know what you want for dinner.
Nothing. Yeah, you have nothing to compare it against because you haven't got enough life experience to know what the choices are. And I think that also goes for teenager.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember being a teenager? Because I remember being a teenager, and it was a roller coaster, hormonally and emotionally. Yeah. Who am I today? I don't know.
Right. Like the fact that I'm still shaping my identity and I have not landed on a permanent decision means I should not be able to make a permanent decision about my identity yet. I think when somebody wants to make a transition, I think the first step, instead of just complying with what they want, I think the first step should be is getting counseling to make sure that there's no underlying issues that they're trying to hide by trying to make a transition.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. So I agree with you wholeheartedly. And, I guess that would also play into then the attack on manhood. And um, I don't know, there just seems to be so much being revealed in the world that is whatever the label is you want to give it is just toxic. And I think that the approach to how we relate to men in the condemnation of masculinity is toxic. I think we need to clean it up and celebrate it.
Yeah, it's to the point where there's this guy called Kev on stage, and it was like he was reading a tweet that somebody else posted, and it was like, men should not be ordering appetizers at dinner. That's gay. And I was like, I can't order appetizers. I'm hungry. And then I
Sometimes
saw
the
like,
appetizer is the bridge before dinner, so you don't sit there like
right.
hangry, right? Hangry.
I saw another one. It was like men should not be having on seat warmers in their car. It was like, I want to be warm. It's cold outside. Like, why is that an issue? Like, every little thing seems to be an issue nowadays, and it really shouldn't be.
So what is this unexplained reality of manhood? Talk to us.
So for me, it's understanding that there is there's a I think for manhood there's a thin line that every man has to go through. So we have to come to the point where we understand that manhood is not a designation of age. It's a choice. It's something that I have to step into and that I have to receive. And then it's also coming to understand, and once I've accepted that I want to step into manhood, it's understanding that now I have a responsibility to myself, to my family, and to my community.
So, and you have to know what manhood is that you to even step into it. So,
Yes.
where do we find that framework?
So for me, I found it with my mentors.
Okay.
And I'm adopted, so I have an adoptive father. So I can take bits and pieces from what I've learned from my father, from my mentors, from other community leaders, and I can mash it all together, and then it allows me to shape my idea of what I think manhood is. I think it's really complicated simply because of the fact that no two individuals have the same life experience. Like,
Right.
even I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I just was thinking, if you've got these mentors and obviously there's a level of wisdom in you that enabled you to even know that you could select aspects of each one, and it wasn't that you had to choose one and it was absolute.
Hmm.
So I
Yeah,
think that's something I think that must be innate in you, that not everybody has that, where
yeah.
they can go, okay, I've got these four guys in my life. They're in different they have different lifestyles and values and jobs, but they all have these amazing qualities that I want to take a little bit from each one and create my
Hmm.
own mashup of manhood.
Yeah.
Like that took some. Do you think growing up in foster care is what enabled you to look within and become more of really strengthened in who you are?
Yes, because there was two routes I could have taken in foster care.
Mm.
I could have taken the self-destructive route, which a lot I'm literally, let's say, like 95% of the boys I was raised with, 95% of them have been to jail.
Wow.
I thank God every day that I'm not one of them.
Yeah.
So I could have taken that route.
Hmm.
But for me, it was, I understood what I wanted to be. And so for me, it was taking bits and pieces of what I would like to see and what I would like to become from each person that I knew.
Yeah. Good on you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
a lot of people, we grow up with the father in the home, and that's the only masculine image that we know how to try to duplicate. So for me, I was blessed to have multiple, so I can understand I don't like that quality, but I like this quality about this gentleman better. So I want to emulate that. So I think I was blessed with that.
That's so cool. You know, when I was kid, like my dad died when I was 7, so I had something in the beginning, but then it was gone, and it was very abrupt, and that was shocking and kind of traumatizing in and of itself.
Yeah.
But it took me a long time, like a long time, to figure out that what kind of not just men but people, because this just doesn't apply to the men I allow in my life, but also like women too can take on those other characteristics, like whether it's abusiveness or flakiness or abandonment or whatever the issue is in you gets
Mhm.
reflected in those relationships. And it took me, that's why I got into the coaching business in the beginning, was to heal myself. And I thought, wow, if I can clean up my own um, psychology, then
Yeah.
I can totally help people, because I felt like I was really messed up back in the day, just really confused. So for you to have that level of wisdom is brilliant. Like, I just commend you. That's
Thank
massive.
you.
Yeah, that's massive. Good
I,
job.
thank you. I take it like in the book in one of my books I say don't take advice from people who you would not want to be.
No
And it's
kidding.
really simple because I'm not going to take, like you said previously, I'm not going to take financial advice from a poor person.
Right.
Right. Because you can, if you're not going, or if you have not been where I am trying to go, I cannot use your advice.
Yeah. Yeah. Really good. So what's your thought on the reality, the unexplained reality of manhood? What do we need to do to turn this in a more healthy direction?
I think it's really understanding the value of having a masculine person or presence in your home or in your life in general, because there's something special about knowing, like when my wife sleeps at night, she sleeps better knowing that I'm in this house, because she knows that if anybody comes through that door, they're going to get to me before they get to her.
Sure.
I think understanding that it's really simple, but fathers love their kids.
Yeah.
So many times it's a lot of times I've seen in the courts where it's like, why isn't the father fighting harder to be a part of his child's life, rather than
Sure.
asking the mother, why is he fighting to be a part of his child's life? I think we have to start rephrasing some of the questions and how we look at things about manhood, because
So
manhood should,
what you're saying is that men should not have to fight so hard to be a part of their children's lives.
yes, I
Okay.
feel like just as easy as the mother is the mother as soon as that child is birthed, the father should have that same right. When my lawyer told me when my son was born, she got rights and I got a financial obligation. I had no rights until I went to court.
That's an interesting setup. So there must be some kind of background to that, where I wonder what it's based in. Like, was it based in women not having the support they need and keeping them out of poverty? It's come from somewhere, but maybe as a society, we've outgrown that.
Oh, absolutely, because women at large, they have more degrees than men, and they are earning a lot more than they ever have in the past. So
It's
women are capable earners. Like there's nothing stopping them. I think we're so stuck. it's crazy because the child support laws have not been rewritten or redone since a 3-bedroom house was $15,000.
I was
Like,
going to say the 1920s or something.
so it's like, no, we need to rework things. And I don't think the first thing should be child support. I think the first thing should be co-parenting.
Engagement,
Yeah.
yes.
So child support should be that last option once that person has said, I don't want anything to do with you or the child. Then child support should be enacted. But if I'm saying, hey, I'm here, I want to be present, let me raise my child, then the father should be able to have 50% custody.
Yeah, I actually have a friend. No, I get you and I hear you loud and clear. I have a really good friend. He's a ex-Navy guy and he was a fitness trainer at my gym and was seeing someone for a very short term and they conceived a baby and they decided together in an adult conversation to have the child and co-parent.
Mm-hmm.
And he was brilliant at it. He loved it. In fact, like he would have spent more time. So I hear you loud and clear. This is a societal construct. This is a social construct that contains within it limiting beliefs, outmoded, outdated, archaic concepts of parenting.
Mm-hmm.
And it's an attitude, it's a mindset.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
To say that there's not a bias in the family courts would be a lie. There a lot of judges and lawyers still believe that the mother is the better caregiver. But I heard the statistics the other day that it was like, I think it's something like 80% of people that were raised in a single parent home without the father is in jail.
Wow.
But that child has a significantly higher potential of not going to jail if the father is in the home or if he's just raised by the father by themselves.
Okay, so now that's brilliant because clearly that's the masculinity aspect being present.
Mm-hmm. And
go.
Here's a great example. Arnold Schwarzenegger, he has two boys, one that was raised with him and one that was raised with the mother. The one that was raised with him is fit and like rips, like Arnold.
Mm.
And the one that was raised with the mother is obese.
Ouch. Well, if we want to just like deduce it down to estrogen and testosterone, estrogen makes the body plump and testosterone makes the muscles hard.
Yeah.
And that is predominant in brain activity. The female side, the feminine aspect of the brain, the feminine energy of the human is receptive. It's the softer, more receptive way of being, whereas the masculine energy of the human or the masculine side of the brain is more linear, logistic, hard charging, push through kind of vibe. So that would show up as a manifestation in how the body manifests because that's how the mind has functions. Yeah.
And the most perfect example is when you're raising children, you can't tell that child, do as I say, because they're not. They're going to do what you do. They're going to emulate what you do. So even as a boy in the single mother household, I'm going to emulate my mother because that's the primary influence that I have to emulate.
So what we're talking about here is a multiracial. It's not one race or the other.
Right.
Okay, I totally agree with you. So out of curiosity, going back to my comment about my friendship base looking like the United Nations, I have quite a significant number of friends that happen to be Black. And I say it that way because I don't see that. Like I see their heart.
Mhm.
we're friends.
Yeah.
And so I've always wanted to ask this question. What's the programming in the Black community against, or how is it set up or communicated? What's the narrative around that keeps men from being present as fathers, to your point at the beginning of the show?
One thing that I've learned is, so I can tell you from both sides. I have a child before I got married, and now I have two children with my wife. And the one thing that I can say, I can only be as much as a father
Mm.
as the woman lets me be.
Yeah,
I can only influence my children because by law, she has all the rights. So my influence is only going to be what she allows it.
sure.
And if you look in the community, primarily in the Black community, you can see, like, from the 60s, when our cities were flooded with crack cocaine.
Sure.
The goal was to remove the man out of the house. The woman, she got welfare, she got Section 8 housing, she got food stamps. So the man was no longer needed in that house. The government has now become their man. That's their provider. Why? And I can't come in that house because if I do, then you lose your benefits.
So
So,
this has been an agenda.
in my opinion,
I can see
you
your
know,
opinion.
so it's like, and you have these children, they see this, so it's like, why would I get married and have to go work a job when I can have multiple baby daddies and I can collect child support and welfare and never have to work a day?
I hate that term. It's the worst.
you know, it's rough because in that same breath, a lot of men are discouraged from being fathers.
Yeah. When you have a system stacked against you, and then you have generations of narrative that's been stacking upon itself and becoming more and more exaggerated,
Hmm.
where it seems futile to even try. And so then there's an acceptance of it. It's like, well, this is just the way it is.
Yeah, it becomes the norm,
Yeah, it
and
does.
it's like back in slavery, the first slaves that came here, they knew that they were more than slaves. But by the second and third generation, all they knew was that, hey, this is the norm. I'm a slave. I work. I get beat, and then I breed. That's
Yeah.
all they knew. So it's kind of like that.
Wow.
You know,
Well, it's a programming.
yeah.
It's a program.
Hmm.
It's a program running in society. Man, this is
What
just hideous.
it is. One of my favorite artists is Jay-Z, and one of his old songs, he's like, "Do you know why they call it a project? Because it's a
Mm.
project. It's an experiment." And I was like, that makes sense.
That was your light bulb moment.
Yeah, it was like,
Yeah.
wow. Like,
Wow.
I
Okay,
think one thing,
go
um,
ahead.
I think one thing that would make it better is if we can take down the strong Black woman image and we allow them to just be women. Because
Ladies.
ladies, yeah, because that strong Black image, it kind of dehumanizes them and it puts them at a level of they can tolerate more and they should and they can. And I think, no, nobody should have to tolerate more pain and struggle in their life. Just allow them to be. And I think if we allow the women to be, they can then come back and allow the man to be. Because
Yeah.
even though the king is the most powerful piece on the chessboard, he's the most desired piece on the chessboard, the queen has more power.
How so?
The queen could go wherever she wants, when she wants. She has all the influence. And if you notice, she's the main protector of the king.
Yeah. So there's man, we should do another interview because you just opened up a whole can of worms, and we're over time.
Oh, sorry.
But so what I know, it's really good, and I absolutely agree with you. And by the way, that's not just happening in the Black community; it's happening in the white community too. Convincing women that men are the enemy, and that they're the ones that hold us back, and that we need to destroy their masculinity in order to get ahead, which none of that is true. You know, I can tell you this: when I got into when I decided to become a speaker and then I became a coach and a trainer, I was probably one of maybe 3 or 4 women that were doing keynote platform speaking around the world. And the rest were all men. And what I found is that if I went into it with a curiosity of what I could learn and then apply it to the building of my own career as a speaker, the men offered me tons and tons of help. If I went into it and I saw them as the enemy and that they got the business for that, to deliver that speech instead of me, then I found myself an adversary immediately. So now it's a little different. There's lots of women speakers, but I mean, we've been taught, and I've given speeches to groups of executive women that are fighting the glass ceiling and seeing men as the enemy and why they don't get fair wages or why they don't get promoted. And they don't like my speech because I go in and I counter all of that. There is no glass ceiling. Everything we achieve in life, and I know you know this, Jackie, everything we achieve in life is an inside job.
Yeah.
When you clear this up and you create that alignment between your head and your heart, and then you believe and you have faith and you trust and you step toward it, it always shows up. No one can keep it from you. No one. Yeah. And I think that's really has to be the profound just message that just gets buried under all of the nonsense about how weak and how much of a victim we all are. Which leads me to a question. Do you think that is a huge narrative in the Black community? You guys are victims. You've been done.
Yeah, because what I've seen is if we can keep them focused on being a victim, they don't have time to focus on finding a solution.
That's right.
So I think in some points, one thing that I've learned to do is take that thin line and run it through truth, because there's going to be a little bit of truth in everything. So even people that I don't like, I preferably don't like certain Republicans, but I understand that sometimes there is a truth to what they're saying.
Right.
And I have to honestly accept that truth. And sometimes my cognitive dissonance, it wants to fight, but it's like, when you look, numbers don't lie. When you look at these numbers, statistically, they're telling the truth, and you just have to accept the hard truths of things.
Yeah, because it's not how they look or the label. It's the actual reality that they're presenting that you have to look at. No, I get you. I feel the same way. I really do. I can't say that about. I'm not going to go there. All right. So
that's a whole other discussion.
No, it's another one. That's another one. So I really appreciate you being on here today. This has been fabulous. What are the top 2 or 3 pointers you can give dads about 2 things? One, being a dad, and manhood.
So being a dad, the best thing that you can do for your children is to be present. And you want to be there and you want to celebrate them. Like, for me, I tell my children regularly, I am proud of you. Yeah. My 5-year-old daughter, she's like, why? What did I do?
Explain this to me so I can do more.
And I'm like, some days it's like you've made great decisions today. But some days it's like, I'm proud because you do your best. You always put your best foot forward. And I am proud of you for trying. You never gave up. And as far as manhood, you build a foundation of truth, and you build a foundation that you know that will stand the test of time, and you understand that with that foundation is going to be your center of influence. So for me, my foundation is being honesty is my foundation. So
Mm.
I like to influence my children to be as honest as possible.
Yeah, there's
And I
power
think,
and strength in that.
yes, sometimes it hurts being honest. My wife, she made this thing called the truth moment, which makes honesty super easy. So at any given moment, she'll say truth moment, and then we can have a honest dialogue without any judgment. So it helps. And I think a foundation of honesty is what a man should be, because if I cannot take you at your word, then in my
Oh,
opinion, you are
thank
not a man.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you. No, it's true. I mean, I think I've actually said that to a couple ex-boyfriends. Just be honest with me and we'll be
Yeah,
fine.
it's real. Because whether the truth hurts or not, you it's gonna come out eventually. So you might as well
Well, and
just
then
be honest up front.
yeah, and then I can respect you.
Hmm.
If you say to me, especially if you give me the hard stuff, like give me the hard information,
Yeah.
the truth can be hard to hear,
Hmm.
but then I can respect you for having the tenacity to say it,
Yeah.
even though it was hard. Yeah,
And the truth is, if you're honest, it bleeds into other parts of your life, because now you not only are you honest, but you're integral about your doings. You do fair and honest business. You don't cheat on your wife. Honesty, it bleeds into every other part
it
of your
does.
character. So
Well,
that's
the most important promise and word that you'll ever keep in your life is the word honoring your own word with yourself.
yeah,
When you say you're going to do something for yourself, do it.
yeah,
But that's a skill set too, and I think that comes back to a lot of people were under nurtured
yeah,
as children, and so when you experience unconditional love as a child, then you're able to tackle the harder realities of life and you don't run and shrink from them.
yeah.
Man, we
And
could just talk all day.
I I know. Can I just say one last thing?
Yes.
It's too many times as men, we try to fill the void in our lives and in our heart with sexual experiences and sexual conquering. And that will never lead to a fulfilling life.
Yeah.
It will lead you to a life where you look back on it and you say, man, I wish I would have not done that. And it becomes your daily habits become your life. So now when you do want a relationship, you can't maintain it because you are used to being intimate with multiple women in a certain time frame. So now it becomes a culture shock.
Yeah.
So you can't it's hard to become faithful that way, because at that point you're working backwards. So it's
Yeah.
easy to be upfront and to live a life of honesty and integrity.
Oh, that's brilliant. What a great ending. Hey, I know you've got some books out. How do people find you?
Uh, so the best way to find me is going to be on Instagram. It's underscore the Jackie Lewis.
Cool. Cool. All right. Underscore the Jackie Lewis on in Instagram. And how do they find your book? Is it on Instagram too?
It is. It's on my.
Nice.
As soon as I have a link tree on my Instagram. Just click the link tree. It'll take you straight to Amazon.
Oh, I love it. So everybody needs to buy your book. I
Yeah,
think it should be yeah.
buy all three of them. They're like $5-10. It's cost of a Happy Meal.
Oh, there you go. And it's more nourishing. Absolutely.
Right.
Well, Jackie, thank you so much for being on here today. Definitely want to have you back because I think we have a lot more to unpack here. And keep up the good work. And just like massive congratulations to you for mastering yourself. I mean, that in life, that's the number one hurdle for all people. I sent out an email yesterday for the new year, and I said, most of the people on the planet leave 60% of their potential on the table that's unaddressed and untapped. So they basically, most people run their lives at only 40% of possibility, and looks like you've really stepped beyond that. So congratulations.
Thank you so much. I'm still climbing though, so just keep
Of
watching.
course you are. Yes. That's why we'll keep talking. That's awesome. All right, everybody. Thank you. Yeah, my pleasure. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in and liking and subscribing and sharing. That's how I built the channel. When you comment on the episode, it sends the algorithm into a bit of a search mode to get it out to new people and more people so we can build the viewership, which we really want to do this year. And I have the Leadership and Management Retreat coming up in 2 cities during January, February, March, April, and May. And you can catch those on my website at leadershipandmanagementretreat.com. The pricing of that is changing for 2023. And you're on the last few days of getting it at the old price of $897 for a full day. And that includes a 30-minute coaching session with me post-retreat and the leadership and management mindset assessment. You need to get that too. So please don't go into 2023 with the same thought patterns and emotional programs that you ran your life with in 2022. That's just ridiculous. So remember, everybody, stay aligned, stay awake, and stay alert.